Hello and welcome to another video, and in this video it's been quite a requested video that people want to know how I do my robes on my Sisters of Battle army. Some examples here of some finished ones. So there's this one here that I actually finish off with a Flesh Tearer's glaze, and the one that obviously people are using as a reference is this one without the Flesh Tearer's glaze. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do them both, and I'm going to show you. Of course, this is the first of a few tutorials I'm going to do on the Sisters of Battle while I'm doing my army. I'm also going to be doing a video which will be covering the gold and how I painted Celestine, and I'll use the Sister Superior for that. You get a good example of the robes there. And I'm also going to be doing one of the little cherubs as well. So to get started, what you need is obviously your sister. I prime my sisters black because obviously the armor's black. But then you also need, paints wise, you need Mephiston red, Evil Sun's scarlet, Wild Rider red, Troll Slayer. You also need Corn red, and you need Ink by Darkness, and then the optional glaze at the end, Flesh Tearer's contrast paint. So let's get some Mephiston red onto the wet palette. And then let's get this done. So the first thing is move my wire out the way. So basically you want to get this nice thin layers. Probably going to need at least 2 to get a good solid coat. For the inside of the robe, I use Screamer Pink for that sort of pinky reddy colour. So you just get it on there. The good thing with Mephiston red is it's got some really good coverage. So what you do is you get that on, and of course do the front one and the side ones, but I'm just going to concentrate on the back part. I'm not really going to worry too much about the inside part yet, this part in here. Just going to concentrate on the back. So I'm going to get that to dry. I'll get another couple of coats on and then I will be right back. Welcome back. So that's me now, got a solid coat on that. So what we're going to do now is we're going to start the shadows. So the first shadow we want to do is a corn red. You want to thin this down so it's almost glaze consistency, and essentially what you want to do is you want to follow the folds of the fabric. Just run it in, and if you want you can just sort of feather it out up the sides like that, and down the side like this. When this dries, what it'll do is it'll give you that nice transition into the darker colours, which the Inky by Darkness and Corn Red mix will give you. So it'll give you a natural shadow, which is really good. And you just want to do these top parts up here as well. And then just down here again. And just pull it in. Always pull the brush where you want the pigment to be. Okay, so you can maybe I start seeing it on the camera, it starts to get a little bit darker. Just like so. Okay, so just let that dry a little bit. Just adjust my light. So now that's dried, you sort of see, you can see the transitions here. You can sort of see it coming down there. So now what you want to do is you want to just get a little bit of incubi darkness. Not much, just a nice little bit. And essentially you want about a 60-40 mix of the corn red and incubi darkness. And you want to thin that down to, again, almost a wash consistency. So basically you want it a little bit like that. Get rid of the excess off the brush, just use your palette for that one. And then just run it into the deepest recesses and then feather it out. That's a little bit too runny, but that's okay. A couple of layers and it will be fine. If you find that it's too wet, just add the same amount of the paint in again, and you'll just mix it, it'll just thicken it up. So again, same amount of paint, making sure you get these folds up the top. Straight in the deepest recesses. Rinse off the brush and then just feather the colour out up the sides. Alright, you start to see how it's building up there nicely. And that's this long part here. Just pull. So you're almost glazing the shadows in. Alright. You now start to see how that colour transition is building up. So you can definitely sort of do a couple more, especially on this side. Like that. And down the middle. If anyone interested, the brush I'm using is a size 1 Rosemarine Core Series 33. They are literally my go-to brushes now. I've stopped using Artist Opus just purely because they just aren't that good. Are very expensive brushes, but just not great. I was thinking about doing a sort of video based on what equipment I'm using, and explain more in detail in that one. I will probably do that during the week. So you've got that nice colour. So for the final shade, get a little bit more incubi darkness. So again, you want it to look a bit like that. So it's almost like a greeny purpley colour. And then this wants to go right in the deepest shadows. Doesn't really want to go too high up. Just feather it out a little bit, and then once the deepest part just wants to come straight down the inside there, the deepest shadows. Like so. So that's that. So what you can do, if you is make a little bit of a glaze if you're not happy with how some of the transitions have worked. Let's just make a little bit of the glaze. You see the side here, if you just want to tidy it up, just get some Mephiston red glaze and just feather that over the area. You can just sort of tidy that up. Alright, so just let that dry, and then we'll start getting ready with the next colour. So now we're going to go into the highlights. So what we want to do is we want to take some Evil Sun Scarlet, we want to thin it down so it's almost a wash glaze consistency, not fully a wash but not fully a glaze, so it just wants to sort of be sitting in the middle. Basically you want it a little bit like that. Alright, and then with this colour you want this to sit right on the highest points, like so. And then on the thing, basically you want it to really sort of emphasize those points, like so. If it's too much, just feather it out, like that. You can see the difference. And again, you want to do it this side. So following the contours of the cloth, I've painted on my brush, just bring it down like so, and again like here, and then here. Now you can, because of the light here, is just along that corner, just emphasize that a little bit. Alright. So what I'm going to do is going to do one more coat of that here, just to bring that up, and then just with a thin layer just tidy up the top end here and then here. And again, if you're not happy with how the transitions works, just put a thin line of Mephiston red through the center of the highlight and the shadow and just feather it out, and that'll go over, when that dries, that'll go over the transition and give you that sort of reddy color back in the middle between the shadow and the highlight. So once that's done, what you can do is get some slightly thicker Evil Sun Scarlet, still using the same brush, and very carefully do a highlight right down the center of the folds. Okay, and then just pick these ones out as well, and then down the edges here. You can also just edge highlight the underside, like that. And then what we do next is we get some Wild Rider red, and then that edge highlight that we've just done, we do another edge highlight straight down the middle. Like so. And again, get the Wild Rider, do the edge highlight along the bottom. Nice and easy. Right, so you're sort of left with it looking like a bit like that. Okay, now you can, if you really want to, just pick out top parts here and then here, the nice creases. And then the last highlight you need to do is some Troll Slayer. And all you're doing with the Troll Slayer is right on the very tip. And a little edge like that. And then the sharpest points. So you're not really going too far down, just keeping it at the sharpest points. Like so. Now that would be the cape done. You could leave it like that if you really wanted to, or what you can do is you can do the Flesh Tearers contrast paint glaze. So I'll stick some of that on my wet palette. So it's 1 part contrast paint. Now I use Lamian's medium rather than the contrast medium to make my glazes, and the reason why is because it kind of thins it a little bit better, but you can use contrast medium if you really want to. I just prefer it this way. So it's about one part contrast paint to 3 parts Lamian's medium. But what you want is, you want it to be extremely thin, so it's this consistency. Just added a little bit of water just to thin it down just a little bit more. But essentially what you want is the glaze to be about that consistency. You see that, how it's just in the thumb. Okay, so it's thin but not ultra thin. Now I get the the glaze, and I take the excess off my brush on the back of my hand. But what you can do is you can do it with a tissue. So essentially you want not much paint on this brush, and then very thin layers over the top, pulling the pigment where you want it. I just want it completely covered, so I'm pulling down. You can cover over the shadows as well, it makes no difference. And because this is a ultra thin layer of paint, it will dry extremely quickly. And then all we're going to do once that's dried is we're going to apply that edge highlights just here and here and there. As you can see, it's drying as we're speaking. It's a very thin layer of paint, so it doesn't take very long to dry. So just as a nice thin highlight, the edges again. And that is how I do my robes. So I hope everyone likes that. I hope everyone found that informative and useful. Like I didn't say it at the beginning of the video. I really should say it at the beginning of the videos more. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please subscribe. I'm getting very, very close to 1,000 subscribers, and I would like to hit 1,000 subscribers soon. You can also find me on Facebook at 8 Pointed Star Painting. I'm also on Instagram under the same name, 8 Pointed Star Painting. And yeah, there's a lot more videos coming, a lot more tutorials coming. If you've got any requests, feel free to fire it down in the comments below. I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.